Macmillan Audio presents The Snowbirds by Christina Clancy. Read for you by Karissa Vacker and Graham Halstead. For John, who is always there, will you marry me again? We have stood from year to year before the spectacle of our lives with joined hands. William Carlos Williams, Asphodel, that greeny flower. Chapter 1. Palm Springs, January 2nd, 2023, 6 a.m. The day after Grant went missing, I was still convinced that it was only a matter of time before he walked through the front door. Chagrined, maybe a little dirty, certainly contrite. Others weren't so sure. When he didn't return from his hike, a pop-up command center topped by a satellite dish was set up in Indian Canyons faster than I could say REI. The park was buzzing with helicopters, drones, thermal sensors they called fleers, and rescuers in orange gear. It felt as though half the population of Palm Springs was out searching the mountains, from the tribe's rangers to volunteers with the mounted police. I couldn't keep track of all the agencies or who did what. What a spectacle! All for one man. Yesterday, Grant had been planning to leave before sunrise for a New Year's Day hike to Cedar Springs with Hobie, his hiking buddy and our neighbor. He was gone when I woke up. I'd expected him home by lunch, but the minutes ticked by, and then night fell. As our dinner grew cold and my texts and calls were met with eerie silence, I became increasingly concerned. Then again, I'd had a bad feeling all day. Things were not good between us. When I saw Hobie in the courtyard of our condo complex that night, I knew something was wrong. All day, I'd assumed they were together. But when Grant wasn't waiting outside by the Jeep in the morning, Hobie figured he was still sleeping off a New Year's Eve hangover. Hobie immediately insisted we call the ranger for help. Good Midwesterner that I am, I didn't want to trouble anyone, and I thought there was some kind of 24-hour rule that applied to missing persons. But Hobie didn't rattle easily, and his concern set off my own alarm bells. Still, I assumed the ranger, Brady, would think I was overreacting. Instead, after taking down some preliminary information about Grant's age, fitness level, and what he was wearing, Brady asked why I hadn't called sooner.
"At this point, I'm afraid he's going to have to spend the night up there,"
he said.
"I can't create an incident within an incident by sending people out in the dark."
At the crack of dawn, Hobie drove me to Indian Canyons to meet with Brady. I was expecting to retrieve Grant as though he were a lost dog picked up by animal control. That's when I discovered that the vast 31,000-acre hiking area and ancestral home of the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians, a major Palm Springs tourist destination with 60 trails that lead into the San Jacinto Mountains, was now closed to visitors. Hobie whistled, impressed.
"Well, look at that. The entire canyon has been evacuated."
I cringed, worried I'd created all this missing person hubbub for nothing. Brady was studying a Google Earth map on a giant screen.
"Did you find the vehicle?"
Hobie asked. Brady shook his head no.
"We sent some guys up to Morris Ranch Road again. Nothing there, nothing here."
They followed the long red line running along the map with a circle in the middle to represent Cedar Springs, Grant's supposed destination. I learned he could have gotten there from above by driving about 45 minutes to the higher elevations, parking at the top of the trail near Pinyon Pines, and making his way down the Joe Pond Trail. His other option was to park where we stood.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?